hang out, getting buzzed. I've got to get out of this place.
Hi, I'm Johnny Galvatron. I'm director at Beethoven and Dinosaur, and we're working on Mixtape.
So, Johnny, talk about where the idea for Mixtape came from.
I just wanted to show people music that I liked. I think that was a good starting point. I want to show people That's Good by DEVO. More people need to know about that song. It's one of my favorite songs, and I hear it every single day, and every time I love it even more. Thank you, DEVO.
So you wanted to make a DEVO game, but you settled for this instead?
I couldn't afford all the DEVO songs. The entire Mark Mothersbaugh wouldn't let me have the entire catalogue, so I had to include some other songs from Joy Division and The Cure and the Smashing Pumpkins, unfortunately.
So how did that interview go when you were let's talk about music licensing for a minute.
Okay.
Did you do that personally? Or did you have like a outreach person do it for you?
There's no way I could get a Joy Division song by myself. But our game is about a girl who wants to be a musical supervisor. So when you ring a musical supervisor and say, hey, we're making a game about a musical supervisor, they go, we'll get you whatever you need to glorify the musical supervisor. So we worked with Alex Hackford, and he's done a bunch of games, he's rad. We were trying to get the rights to The Cure, and one of the guys who owned the rights was like up a mountain, and they had to send someone up a mountain to get him, and there's all these crazy stories about how like they get the rights to songs, and it was rad.
Did the meeting for you go like, please, come on?
Usually I will just talk about, you have to like submit what you wrote, because they talk about the music in the game, like the characters talk about the music. So usually I would just write some really nice things about them and what I liked about their music, and then they would see that and they'd be like, oh, okay, they can use it.
Yeah, because like in music licensing, they want to know like what you want to use in the library, how long you can use it for, what the context is. Like it's a chore.
Yeah, we were getting More Than This by Roxy Music, and one of the lines in the game is like, how did they have Brian Eno and Brian Ferry, two of the greatest Brians? And then they rang me and they're like, oh, Brian wants to know like where in the game it is. And I was like, which Brian? They're like, oh, we didn't ask. I'm like, I gotta know which Brian it was.
So like what year does the game take place exactly? Or is it kind of like open to interpretation?
No comment. Sometime.
It's like that 80s show, right? Or that 90s show where they did with the little kid. Like they never tell you what year it is. They just kind of hint at it.
Yeah, well, I think it's a mixtape on several levels. It's like a mixtape of music. It's a mixtape of eras. It's a mixtape of different kind of technologies and stuff as well. It's not really hammered down to one place or one time. It's meant to be kind of about what's universal. So it's definitely not set in a specific year. Also, because we break all the rules about when songs came out and stuff, so it can't be that.
So let's talk about like the narrative and the time in your game. This is a time before phones, before smartphones, before social media. Like internet was probably in its infancy at some point.
Yeah.
How do you go about making a game like that today, where so many kids don't understand what it was like in the 90s?
I think you have to show them like what was obsessed over, and I think making mixtapes is a perfect example of concentrating and selecting and curating the feed that you get. So I think that's something that's very similar there. I made that up on the spot. That was pretty good.
Do you have like a favorite, like what was a good mixtape you had in high school?
Well, first I was actually cool when I was listening to like the Smashing Pumpkins, and I really liked Nirvana and Soundgarden and that sort of stuff. And then came nu metal. And I would listen to Korn and Limp Bizkit and be very uncool. And now I'm cool again.
People forget that like Korn and Limp Bizkit were very popular at that time. Like they were people look back and go, really? But like at that time they were super hot.
They were massive.
Yeah.
They were headlining the Big Day Out in Melbourne in Australia. And I don't think they ever made it to Melbourne because like there was a crowd crush in Sydney, so I never got to see Limp Bizkit in their prime, which is one of my greatest regrets.
Now, did you have to do any research? Because you're from Melbourne. Like, did you obviously trends and stuff kind of vary based on the location of the country. Did you have to do any research in America to have it be more relatable to the Americans?
No, who cares about the Americans? What we were doing is, I think you have to understand, and not I don't know if Americans have this for other places. I think probably France and stuff like that. But like, America is just real to me as Middle Earth. Do you know what I mean? It's a fantasy land. I watched it my whole life. I didn't go to America until I was 32. I know everything about it. And so to me, I'm as much writing a story in some fantasy landscape as I am to the America that you have known and experienced. It's an absolute fantasy. A lot of people outside of America write that way about America. So unashamedly, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, it's funny because like music, I think, can transcend borders. Like at the time, like trends and stuff come and go in different areas of the countries, different countries and states. But music is released worldwide, and people like it everywhere. So I think that's one of your main goals in this mixtape is to expose people to those bands, right?
To DEVO, yes.
Have you heard that Weird Al story about like they were mad at Weird Al because his song was better than theirs?
I know very well about Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al Yankovic, and I actually think it's an amazing song. I really love it. Weird Al, and yes, Mike Mosler hated him for that. And
He did ask for permission. He always does.
no, look, we can't be angry at Weird Al for this. I think it's an amazing. Dare to Be Stupid is so good, and it's like if someone distilled like Oh No, It's DEVO, the album. Don't start me on this. I'll talk about this all day.
It's funny. There are a ton of like bands that like I mean you and I grew up with. I think you look a little younger than me. I'm 40.
I'm 40.
Okay. Well, you look.
Thank you.
You look much younger than me, and maybe the world hasn't just. Maybe Australia hasn't destroyed you yet, like America has.
It's the harsh Australian sun that I avoid.
That's what my wife says. She says everyone ages terribly because the sun just beats the shit out of them.
It's because we play cricket, and cricket is 5 days of standing out in a field.
Talk about your narrative in this game. It's about three friends just living life. Is it that simple?
It's their last night together before two of them leave for different colleges, so it's that classic things will never be the same John Hughes kind of vibe. But it's definitely not a plot-based game, as many video games are very melodramatic and based around plot. This is very hang out, listen to a mixtape, and I think if you can get the pacing between the grander moments and what the characters call the big suck, just the idleness of teenage life. If you can get that to work, gameplay and pace-wise, then you're on the right track.
Yeah, I'll say this like in the interview because Discord has been catastrophic to our socializing of friendships. People say it's great, you're connected all the time. Like if you move away, great, but like people are on Discord next to each other 8 hours a day and they don't socialize in person anymore. This harkens back to those days, right? You know, your friends had to come over. You had to call someone's mom to see if they could come over and play. Had to give the heads up.
I think the worst thing that we've left behind is when having to call someone's house and their dad answers and you have to speak to their dad. I don't think we need to go back to a time like that.
Hello, Mr. Smith. Is Danny there? Can he come? Can I come over? Can he?
I think that the kind of isolation and weirdness of the teenage experience is probably still universal. It portrays itself in different ways and comes through different mediums, but I think it's just about everything feeling like the end of the world, everything feeling very important, and then also feeling really bored all the time. So I think that that experience is probably universal to all decades.
Well, another thing too, like in the 90s, like there was an off button. Once you left high school, that was it until the next day. And nowadays, like bullying or communication is constant, like on every platform, on all social media platforms. You can never escape it. And there's a block feature, sure, but a lot of people don't use it because they want to know what's being said about them or whatever. And I feel like that's something we've lost also, like just being able to shut off and just hang out with our friends and separate school from friendships and activities that we're not plugged in all the time.
I think there's a lot more pressure on being a teenager today. Absolutely. There's a lot more to live up to. There's a lot more, there's a window into what you should be doing, and teenagers are more conscious of their public image than ever, and it's I think a great burden for this generation. And I'm glad I grew up in a time where everything I did and said wasn't recorded and broadcast, and that I was allowed to form myself into an adult before I had put things online. So I think it is a rough time to be a teenager. I don't think we necessarily celebrate that this was a simpler or better time in Mixtape. I think that's what it's really about. It's not nostalgic in that way. I think it's more about that these experiences of friendship and feeling weird are there for everyone.
Yeah, I feel like you're not trying to say that it was a better time. You're trying to say it was just different.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to say that I think it's all about saying that the pains that kids had then are still the pains that they had now.
So how did you get the attention of Annapurna as a publisher? I know that's a big challenge a lot of developers face.
I made a demo for a game called The Artful Escape, and they rang me and they said, "Is it going to be at PAX Australia?" And I said, "Yes," and that was complete bullshit. And I rang up and got one of, I think maybe the last table, and then we had 3 months to make the demo because I didn't even really have the demo, and then we built it, and we were up for 2 days beforehand. And then Annapurna came in at 11 a.m. on the first morning, played the demo, signed the deal, victory.
Just that easy.
Oh, so easy.
How big is your team for Mixtape?
Like 12, 13, depending on what day it is. Yeah.
Talk about you've got a super unique art style. Like, how did you get that? Because that took a lot of work to refine and make look nice, right? What went into that?
Well, I think with indie games, you already have the puzzle pieces in front of you. It's not this huge team where you kind of start from a bedrock of nothing and build up an art style and look for whatever mood you're going for. I think in an indie team, it's like using the tools that you have, the people you have, the skills that they have, and then you start building from them as creators. And then you start to refine and you start to figure out what the story's going to be and start to just kind of push it in one way or the other, and it coalesces into something that represents not only the artist making it, but the themes behind the game and the world that the game takes place in.
What do you hope in like a modern day teen that was like, maybe 17, 16 right now would get out of Mixtape?
Yeah, I think I think just that what we all want from coming of age films is some reflection of ourselves, and I hope that they find the same love for DEVO that I have.
So if this game does really well and you make a lot of money, when can we expect the DEVO experience, and will it be in VR?
I'll have to wait till Mark Mothersbaugh dies, and then I'll buy his estate, and me and Wes Anderson will make something.
Were you actually able to reach out to him, or did you have to talk through like
No,
an agent
no,
bullshit and Universal Music Group bullshit?
I've never spoken or met Mark Mothersbaugh, but he has my respect and my love.
You can use this as a platform. Tell him to contact you about his music library.
Mark, you probably won't do that, but I really love the Pinga Island theme from The Life Aquatic. I think that's some of your best work. I listen to that on the way to work. Thank you.
When does your game come out? On what platforms are you aiming for at launch?
Oh, I don't know, man.
When it's done?
Yeah. It's not a year away. It's less than that. But it could be this year, could be next year.
In a perfect world, when do you want it to come out?
Like 6 months ago.